Two men explore a ship graveyard. What they found inside made them run for their lives. Two urban explorers were flying their drone at night over a vast and eerie ship graveyard, hoping to capture some atmospheric footage for their online channel. But as they watched their monitor, they saw something that wasn't supposed to be there. A modern, unmarked barge was moving silently among the ancient wrecks, its crew working under the cover of darkness. The explorers watched in horror as the men began to roll heavy, sealed barrels over the side, dumping them into the dark, protected waters. They had just accidentally filmed a major environmental crime. But then, a spotlight from the barge swung up and blinded their drone's camera. They had been spotted, and the criminals were now coming for them. But before we start our story, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and hit that notifications bell so you won't miss any of our new, incredible stories. To understand the strange and silent world where this story takes place, we must first journey to a unique and haunting location on the Potomac River in Maryland. It is called Mallows Bay, and it is home to the largest shipwreck fleet in the entire Western Hemisphere. This is not a collection of a few random wrecks. It is a ghost fleet of over 100 sunken wooden steamships from the First World War. Their decaying hulls, now forming a series of small, man-made islands, a surreal and beautiful testament to a forgotten chapter of industrial history. The story of the Ghost Fleet begins in 1917. The United States had just entered World War I, and there was a desperate, urgent need for ships to transport troops and supplies across the U-boat-infested Atlantic to Europe. President Woodrow Wilson approved a massive emergency shipbuilding program. The plan was to construct a fleet of 1,000 identical wooden-hulled steamships, each nearly 300 feet long. It was the most ambitious shipbuilding program in history. Thousands of workers were hired, and entire forests were felled to provide the lumber. But the program was a victim of its own ambition and the rapid end of the war. By the time the war ended in 1918, only a fraction of the ships had been completed, and most had never even seen service. The United States was suddenly left with a fleet of hundreds of brand-new, but now completely obsolete, wooden steamships. What followed was a decades-long headache of what to do with this ghost fleet. A private salvage company bought the entire fleet, towed the ships to Mallows Bay, and began the long, difficult process of scrapping them. But the operation was a financial disaster. In 1925, the company went bankrupt. Their solution was simple and brutal. They simply gathered the remaining 200-plus ships together in the bay, doused them with kerosene, and set them on fire in a massive, spectacular funeral pyre that burned for days. The burnt-out, skeletal hulls of the ships were then left to sink into the shallow, muddy bottom of the bay, where they have remained, slowly decaying for the last 100 years. Today, the Mallows Bay Ghost Fleet is a protected national marine sanctuary, a haven for wildlife, and a popular destination for kayakers and history buffs. But because of its protected and isolated nature, it is also the perfect place to conduct a secret, illegal operation under the cover of darkness. Our story's protagonists are two men we'll call Leo and Sam, a pair of modern-day urban explorers. They ran a popular online channel dedicated to exploring and documenting abandoned and forgotten places. Their philosophy was simple: take only pictures, leave only footprints. They had decided to visit Mallows Bay to capture some unique atmospheric drone footage of the Ghost Fleet at night. They made their way to a secluded spot on the shoreline. They set up their equipment, and Leo, a skilled pilot, launched their high-tech drone, equipped with a low-light camera, into the night sky. The first images that came back to their tablet screen were breathtakingly eerie. They were capturing exactly the kind of footage they had hoped for. Then they saw it. Further out in the bay, a new, modern shape appeared on the screen. It was an unmarked, flat-topped industrial barge. Leo's curiosity was piqued. He carefully guided the drone closer, and the two explorers watched in horror. There were several men on the deck of the barge, and they were rolling large 55-gallon industrial drums to the edge and pushing them overboard. The barrels splashed into the dark water and sank without a trace. They were witnessing a major, illegal, toxic waste dumping operation in the middle of a protected national marine sanctuary. Leo immediately hit the record button. They filmed for several minutes, capturing clear, undeniable evidence of the crime. Suddenly, one of the figures on the barge looked up and a high-powered spotlight beam shot out. Leo immediately pulled the drone back, flying it back towards their position on the shore as fast as he could. They knew they had to get the drone and its crucial footage and get out of there. But it was too late. On their tablet screen, they could see the barge's engines roar to life, and it was not moving away. It was turning and heading directly towards their position on the shore. They knew who had their footage, and now they were coming to get it back. "They see us," Sam whispered, his voice tight with fear. "They see the drone." Leo didn't need to be told. This was no longer an exploration. It was an escape. They scrambled to pack their gear, their only thought to retrieve the drone's memory card, the only evidence of the crime they had just witnessed. What followed was a tense and desperate chase through the dark, marshy woods that bordered Mallows Bay. The two explorers, using their knowledge of the terrain and the darkness as their allies, managed to evade the men from the barge. Leo and Sam made it back to their car and disappeared into the night, their hearts still pounding, the incriminating footage safe in their pocket. When they were finally safe, they reviewed the footage. It was even more damning than they had realized. The low-light camera had captured clear, high-definition images of the men on the barge, the markings on the barrels they were dumping, and the name of the barge itself. They knew they were in possession of something incredibly important and incredibly dangerous. They were now faced with a difficult and serious dilemma. They had obtained this evidence while trespassing in a protected national marine sanctuary after hours. If they went to the authorities, would they themselves be charged with a crime? And more terrifyingly, the men on the barge now knew that someone had been filming them. Were they part of a larger, more powerful criminal organization that could come looking for them? This brings us to the dark and dirty world of modern environmental crime. The proper, legal disposal of hazardous and toxic waste is an incredibly expensive and highly regulated process for industrial companies. For unscrupulous businesses looking to cut costs, they will hire criminal organizations who, for a fee, will simply make the problem disappear, often by dumping the toxic barrels in remote, unpopulated areas like the Mallows Bay Ghost Fleet or directly into the ocean. The environmental devastation of this crime is immense. As the barrels corrode, they leak their poisonous contents into the water, contaminating the entire ecosystem, killing fish and wildlife, and working their way up the food chain, a silent, invisible poison that can last for decades. Leo and Sam made a courageous decision. The crime they had witnessed was too serious to ignore. They knew they had to take the risk. They contacted not the local police, but a federal agency, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. They anonymously sent a copy of the drone footage to the agency's Criminal Investigation Division. The response was immediate. The high-definition drone footage was the smoking gun the investigators needed. It was clear, undeniable evidence of a major ongoing environmental crime. Using the video, federal agents were able to identify the barge and the shell company that owned it. What followed was a swift and decisive federal investigation. The evidence from the drone's memory card led to a series of raids and arrests. The investigation uncovered a major multi-state criminal ring that specialized in the illegal disposal of hazardous waste for a number of corrupt manufacturing companies. The men on the barge were not just simple criminals. They were part of a sophisticated multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. Leo and Sam, the two urban explorers who had started their night hoping for a few spooky pictures, were granted immunity for their minor transgression of trespassing and were hailed as environmental heroes. Their courage, their skill, and their willingness to come forward with the evidence they had captured with their drone were the keys that brought the entire criminal operation to justice. A long and expensive cleanup operation was launched to find and remove the toxic barrels that had been dumped among the historic wrecks, a direct result of their actions. The story is a powerful testament to a new era of citizen journalism and environmental activism. It is a reminder that in our modern world, with technology like drones in the hands of ordinary, courageous people, there are no truly dark and secret places left for criminals to hide. And it is the story of how two young explorers became the unlikely, modern-day guardians of one of America's most historic and beautiful hidden treasures.